Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey guys, what's going on, everybody? This is Ralph Rasmussen here, and you are locked into Radio Bypass, your home for rock and roll that deserves to be heard. And today, we've got a legend back on the show. We're talking about a drummer whose groove helped define heavy rock, from Vanilla Fudge to Beck Bogart and Appice, Rod Stewart, and of course the powerhouse that is Cactus. And now he's back with a brand new record, Temple of Blues 2, packed with an absolutely insane lineup of rock heavyweights and that raw blues-driven energy that hits you right in the chest. Let's welcome back to Radio Bypass, Carmine Appice. Welcome back, Carmine.
Welcome back. I'm good. I'm trying to get rid of you. Okay. Now I can see that I'm on here. Okay, gotcha. Good to be back. And we're, as you said, I'm playing in Chicago.
Let's
April
start with
3rd, we're pumping the album release party, and it's a charity. For $25, you get a ticket and you get a free Cactus record.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody can see this.
Oh, yeah, very cool.
But very cool. So all my Chicago friends, not only can you help Carmine celebrate the release of the new record, but you can do a good deed as well.
That's right.
So that's cool. Yeah, the Arcada Theatre in St. Charles, guys, for you Chicagoans. But anyway, it's been a couple years since last time we talked. Last time we were together, we were getting ready to release this fine piece of work.
Went very well. It hit the blues charts on Billboard at number 3 the first week, which is, I hadn't been on the blues, any charts on Billboard since 1989.
Well, that had to be a treat. That had to feel good.
It was definitely cool. Definitely cool.
That's
now
awesome.
I understand they've eliminated the blues charts.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, it's like I was ready to hit the blues again. And it didn't happen. Hold on. Somebody help me that. Okay.
No worries. You're a busy guy,
So
Carmen.
basically, we're trying to get on the regular charts now, and that's even harder. So we'll see if I can get Cactus on the 2026 Billboard charts, even for a week.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's pretty cool.
It's still an accomplishment, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what made you decide to go back into the temple? What made you decide to do another one?
The other one did pretty good. So me and the owner were talking. That's who texted me just now. We said, let's. It's been a couple of years. Let's do another one. So okay. This time we changed the artwork, and we got some new people on it called Temple of Blues 2, and we got 7 blues songs on there. Just in case we want to get up for a blues nomination for a blues record, and hopefully they won't put us on the album charts like with Taylor Swift. It's pretty crazy. We did a blues album, hit the number 3 in the Billboard, and they put us into rock albums when it wasn't really rock. But this one's really not rock. This is all the 7 songs of Howlin' Wolf and Willie Dixon.
Right.
And
Chicago
the songs that I loved. Yeah, the stuff that I loved. Howlin' Wolf's album, the Electric album, is where these songs came from. And the drumming on that album is fantastic. So we originally got Evil off that record,
right.
And we made it heavy and real cactused it, So we did the same thing with these 7 songs. We made them really, a bit heavier, and I emulated some of the drum parts, but not exactly. But as you saw in the Cactus video, which is pretty wild, you know, and we modernized it all, but it's still blues. And when you look at it, it's 1, 4, 5 changes.
Right. Right. No, it for sure is. But maybe a little bit heavier. It's got like a little bit, and maybe it's just because of today's recording technology too. But it hits heavy though, for what it is, I think. And that was something I was going to ask you. Recapturing a lot of these songs, how do you think they fit the vibe of today's audience out there?
I mean, I don't really know what the audience is today because, with all these stupid Spotify's and Apple Music, I mean, those guys killed the business as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. So I just did what we liked and what we always have been,
Right.
and there
Right.
is an audience for that out there. So the problem is you got to get it out there.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. I'm doing all these interviews all day long, and there's some more coming. And we're doing the release party. We did it for a charity. It's all bringing attention to the album.
Sure. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, you've got just another amazing lineup of guests appearing on this record.
Yes.
Steve Morse, Joe Lynn Turner, Dee Snider, Ted Nugent, on, just all kinds of great players. And so one of the things that occurred to me last time, and I probably asked you last time, but I'm thinking about it again when I listen to the new one, is how do you even go about putting together a lineup like this?
Well, it's like a plan. I think of all my friends. I go, I need a bass player, I need a guitar player, so I make a list on a spreadsheet of all my friends that I think might want to do it. And I always include Ted, I always include Billy Sheehan, and I always include Doug Pinnick, big Cactus fans. And then I'd go down the list and I would text or call people or email. And the ones that say back, yeah, I'd love to do, then I make another list, and then I have my final list kind of, and I might add a couple here and there.
Right.
And then I think about the songs. In this case, we did 3 Cactus songs that were left over from the other one. As far as we didn't put people on it, but they were left over as far as songs go. And then I knew we did Cactus and Melody, which is really off the wall,
Right.
And we redid that last year just for fun. And then we took it back now and we redid some stuff. We remastered it. We re-edited stuff, and basically it sounds great now. And that song, when I heard the voice, first they gave me the vocal to work with, and I made the drum track to go with the vocals. Everything starts with the drums. I don't start with a guitar or start with the drums. And
Gotcha.
and basically, when it was done, I said, "Wow, listen to the scream in that thing. She sounds like Janis Joplin." A long way from the roller skate song.
Right. Right.
And so then we had 4 there, and then like I said, I love this Helen Wolf album that we got Evil off it. So I said, let me go back and look at these songs. I think we can do a few of them, and we ended up doing 7 of them. Because I love them.
Awesome.
And then I would take those songs and I'd look at who we got, and I'd say, okay, I think Billy Sheehan would be great with Eric Gales and myself as a trio. And that worked out great. And then like Bad Stuff, it had a keyboard on it, was the main thing. So I got Derek Serenian to play keyboard. And then Tony Franklin I thought he played it great. And then when I got Joe Lynn Turner, Joe said, well, what do you want me for? Your singer sounds great. I said, yeah, I know he sounds great, but I want Joe Lynn Turner.
Right.
And I said, okay. So then he did it, and he listened to my singer, and he sang it great, And then I knew Steve Morse, and that was the only one that took a minute to get Steve, and then he committed to it. So on that track, I did 3 rounds of the solo for Derek and 4 rounds for Steve, because I knew he'd want to build it kind of thing,
Right.
He did a tremendous job in building the solo on that one, And that's basically how you do it, Like I knew Spoonful would be right up Ted's alley because he's from that era.
Sure.
And I knew he'd change the groove a bit. And I'd say, well, who would be good bassman? That Bob Daisley would be good for that. It's all the same kind of stuff that we came from,
Right.
Came on, we grew up in the same stuff,
Yeah.
And Bob, it was great. And I knew Ted would do what he did. He changed it with a cool groove, his kind of groove, a stranglehold kind of groove,
Yeah.
And then everything went like that, when we did Tail Dragger, Um, put Rudy on it before I got Alex Soltnik on it. And I said, hey, Rudy, you're playing too straight. Wait till we get Alex on. And then we gave Alex harmonica playing, fantastic. It's a Rockin' Jake from Florida.
Wait, who played the harp?
Rockin' Jake, he's a nobody that plays clubs in Florida, but he's tremendous. He
Gotcha.
played on two of the tracks. He's really amazing. This is the first big thing he's ever done.
Gotcha.
He's like really excited to play with all these guys.
I bet.
And he's phenomenal. He's really great. So I knew he was going to play on it, and I said, well, Rudy would be good on this. And my guitar player, Artie Dillon, played the rhythm. And I said, but I want to get somebody who's really different for this kind of song. And so I knew Alex would be totally different because he's in Testament,
Right.
And
Or, of
Testament
course, he
will
does
fit.
have a jazz group too, Alex.
Yeah. So Testament don't exactly fit in with this, but he sounded great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like when things are kind of weird, like when we did Backdoor Man, we had Eric put his singing and his guitar playing on first. After I did the demo in my house with the drums, I gave it to my guitar player, Artie. Artie actually put the bass and guitar on it, rhythm guitar, and then we gave it to Eric, and he put the lead guitar and his vocal on it. And the second part, what goes up tempo, he didn't do nothing. I said, why don't you play that? He goes, I thought that was for the drums. I said, no, it's for you, man. It's a wail. That's why I put it in there. So then he did that, and then we gave it to Billy. And then Billy played fantastic. And when he was playing the solo, Eric, Billy joined in and played some of the same notes with him. I didn't expect that. It blew me away,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that stuff going on as well, and especially with Dee. Dee sang Little Red Rooster, just ridiculous. And the video came out fantastic. You see the video, saw it, right?
I watched it. Yes.
It makes you laugh. It's entertaining.
It is entertaining. It is entertaining.
And this is done with my friend Dominic Esposito. He has a little company called DeVille Films, and I said, look, can you do this for this budget? He said, yeah. I said, this is going to be good. You can have all these other guys. Otherwise, he does it for another friend of mine. He has nobody, there's no really big following or nothing. And so we came up with the idea. I said, look, I want it to be like in the 30s. I want Dee to be driving an old car. Maybe we'll have on the front, we'll have a rooster as the emblem, but that didn't work out. And I said, but it should be black and white. And we're playing in front of like a shabby old house.
Right.
And we're in the fields playing, just back in those days,
Right.
So he said, okay. So, and then we want the rooster to walk around. And then he said, I'd really love the rooster to turn into a redheaded woman. I said, the rooster is a male.
Right.
So maybe we should put up the gender change.
It fits the times, right?
And I said, we might get some drawback from Democrats and all that stuff. Let's stay out of politics,
Right.
So I said, he said, well, let's call it beauty makeover. I said, that's great. It doesn't affect anybody. So when I'm not going to say what happens, but the rooster goes in and comes out a redheaded woman, right? And then Dee pulls up in the car. Now Dee is AI.
Yeah, I read that before I watched
The woman
video.
is AI.
Yeah.
The woman in the beauty makeover is AI. The band is real.
Right.
Right. So when he showed me Dee riding around that beautiful car, I said, wow. But when it was done, I said, okay, I got to send it to Dee. I'm thinking, I hope he likes it.
Right.
Because, this is AI of himself. He loved it.
That's awesome.
I didn't know what to do if he didn't like it.
Yeah, right. Well, you'd
He
have
said,
to get him into
fucking
town.
amazing. He said, it's fucking amazing. I said,
It's crazy.
great, So everybody loves it. There's some comedy in there. And at
There
the
is.
end, he said he's got to turn back into the rooster at some point. So,
Right.
so my guy said, well, how should we do that? And I told him, and that's what we put on there. And when it happens, his effect is like You could see D going like, And
Right.
I said, we got to have some interplay when they get in the car, and they got to look at each other and kind of, So I said, you got to make it a little interaction between everything, and
Right.
he did. This guy's tremendous. He's tremendous.
Yeah.
So, so this is his first video with starring members. You know,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well,
he
that's
was
great.
excited
He
about
did.
it.
He did a great job. Yeah.
He did an amazing job.
It's a lot of fun. And guys, if you check it out, it's on YouTube already. It's out there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's Cactus. Temple of Blues. Cactus, I'm getting all these titles on. Little Red Rooster featuring Dee Snider. And unfortunately, Dee was going to be at the show, but he stopped singing. So I
right.
think we might have gotten the last recorded performance of Dee on this album
Yeah.
and video.
Yeah. What timing? You made it just under the wire, right?
And said, I wanted Dee to sing. He said, I can't sing. I said, can you MC? He said, yeah, but then he didn't want it because he didn't want everybody to ask him, hey, why can't you sing? Why can't you sing? I get it.
Yeah. He'd
Don't worry
probably get
about it.
bombarded with
Check out
that.
my singer from my Rod show. I have a show called Rod the Show, and .com. And he sounds like Rod and looks like Rod, and he's really got that kind of voice. I said, can you sing this? I heard him singing it. He sounds good. I said, will you sing it at the show? And I'm going to have him MC a bit because he's really good with the audience.
Right.
And I said, but you can't look like Rod. You know? So comb his
Why
hair
not?
back,
That's
wear-
part of your history.
No, I know, but it's just Cactus. And I said, don't dress like Rod. Put your hair back. Wear a Mean Streets hat, like Robert De Niro kind of hat, and wear, not look a little rough. Not so
Right.
gay.
That's funny. That's
But
funny.
not that Rod looks gay, but all the clothes, yellow suit jacket and
Right.
red pants.
More
It doesn't
flamboyant.
go with Cactus.
Right.
Even the background, we got Ted Nugent gave us like a good shout out. So I'm going to put it on the beginning of the show. Ted saying, sorry, I can't be there. But, then he goes on to talk about the guys in the band. It's going to be a great show. So
Right.
support it, come on, support it, blah, 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 blah. And I said, yeah, let's put it in the beginning of the show in the background,
Yeah, it'll be awesome. I'm telling you guys, if you could make it to the Arcada this coming Friday, April 3rd, it's going to be a fantastic show because even though Dee can't attend and Ted's not attending, I mean, you do have yourself, Pat Travers, Doug Aldrich is coming as well, Tony Franklin, Billy Sheehan, Doug Pinnock, Bumblefoot, Eric Gales, Rob Caudle. I mean, come on. It's going to be a fantastic night.
It's going to be a good show.
Are you going to run through a lot of the new album that night then? Are you going to
We're
do
going
the
to play a
whole
bunch
thing?
of it. Yeah, we're going to play a bunch of it. We're going to do Down to the Bottom. We're going to do, well, I forgot what we're going to do. We're going to do Rooster. We're going to do Tail Dragger. We're going to do a bunch of them. I think we're doing 5 or 6 of them.
You got to do Spoonful, I would imagine.
Spoonful we're going to do.
Yeah, good.
And we're going to do, Brother Bill and Parchment Farm and one way or another, all the big, we're going to boogie,
Right.
and do Evil,
Awesome.
So, my singer's going to do Evil. Rob's going to do Evil as well. He's got
That's
that
gonna
kind
be
of voice
great.
like Rusty and like Dee. Real
Right.
bad that Dee can't do it because he was such a big Cactus fan,
Yeah.
He's a
Well,
good guy. He's a good guy, and I
at
wish
least
him
he
well.
got to participate in the last Cactus Temple of Blues Influences and
Yeah.
Friends, and now this one. So that's something at least, right?
Yeah. It's
And
good.
then-
He was going to go out with Twisted Sister, and then he couldn't go.
Yeah, I
They
saw
got
that.
Sebastian Bach. I don't think it's going to be the same.
Well,
And
no.
when you think
it
of
won't
Twisted Sister, what do you think of?
be. Right. Definitely
Think of
decent.
Dee.
Yeah.
You think of Dee.
Yeah.
And the image he has now with the ponytail.
Right. Right.
That's Dee everywhere. We see him all over with that. And so I wish him luck, but I mean, who else is in Twisted Sister?
Right.
That's a household name.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But Dee is, and he's an awesome singer. He can sing anything.
Yeah, he can, and he has actually throughout his career.
Yeah,
I mean, he's done lighter stuff. He's done really heavy stuff.
yeah.
And he always sounds great, no
He's
question.
from Long Island. I knew him from Long Island in the old days,
Right.
And Twisted Sister was just a bar band then,
Yeah, I thought I saw somebody say something about him being on this Cactus record about you wouldn't think Dee Snider and the Blues or whatever, but I forget exactly how it was worded. But I just remember as I skimmed through and read this little thing, in my mind I'm thinking, well, why not? He's got that kind of voice. He can do that.
Yeah, he's got that growly voice. He could.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's saying Little Red Rooster great.
Yeah, definitely.
And at the gig, we're going to have Eric Gale's going to play it. And
awesome.
That's going to be interesting. So we got a day or so to rehearse. Like we fly in Monday, we rehearse Tuesday, and if we need Wednesday, we have Wednesday too.
Good.
But
Good.
we've given everybody all the songs, and who's going to play these 4 songs, and who's going to do those 4 songs. And on Saturday, I get together with my guitarist and Cactus Artie. I made him the MD because he knows all about the amps and the keys and all that stuff. And we're lowering the key to E flat. I see you got guitar back there.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're lowering it down to E flat because some guys played E, some guys played E flat. I said, look, let's just do one tuning.
Right.
So let's do E flat. It'll sound heavier. We had to get some different harmonicas, and
well, if you need a spare harp guy at all, a buddy of mine's fantastic and lives right near the Arcada. So if you need any last minute help in that area,
we may do it.
Yeah.
Put him in touch with our publicist.
I will do that. I will do that.
Okay, that'd be cool.
So let's go back just a little bit. You had mentioned a little bit about Melanie, and so I was telling you before we started this today how cool I think the Purple Haze track is. I love the way you guys approach the track. But also, when I got the record to listen to, I thought, oh my gosh, there's a real historical connection here too, because I think last time you were here, we talked about a little bit about Isle of Wight and you with Jimi Hendrix, and then of course with Melanie now not with us, just such a cool take. I was thinking, man, what did this mean to you? What was it like to revisit this song when you've got that connection to Hendrix and plus Melanie? What was that like for you?
I don't think of it that way. I just think of it musically. Cleopatra gave me the actual vocal. They took off this thing that she did, and the owner said, Brian, he said, I'd like to do Cactus and Melanie doing Purple Haze. I said, what?
It doesn't sound like it would work at first, right?
He sent me the vocal. I said, that's Melanie? He said, yeah, because when she screams, she sounds like Janis Joplin.
Right.
And I was blown away by that voice. So I was, okay, so they sent it that, and they sent us the backing track that she was doing something with an acoustic guitar. I don't know where. And there was a couple of weird percussion things, and they're going, hoo, ha, behind her,
Right.
Which I love. So I took that and put it on there. So once we had to stretch the vocal so it goes on a click, I don't know how to do that. My co-producer, Pat Regan, mixer, he does all that stuff. So I said, okay, so once we got it on the click, then I put the drums to it. That's why I heard an arrangement with the drums.
Right. Going
with the vocal. And then I said, oh, this looks like it should go up tempo. I took it up tempo, and then back down tempo, and then up tempo, and then let's do a break here. Where it's like all that weird psychedelic break.
It's really cool, yes.
And then come back up again, and then go up tempo and go out with the thing, then it ends, and then just put excuse me while I kiss the sky, and all that weird stuff, all psychedelic.
Yep.
And it really fit great, and it came out fantastic.
It really
did. We just released it a year ago just for fun, But I said, we got to do this, put it on here and redo it. We remastered it, we re-edited it, and we put that middle part in there, the psychedelic part, and remixed it a little bit. It sounds different. It sounds better.
Yeah,
and it fits
I
the
was
album.
blown away when I saw she was on. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this will be like. I wasn't sure if I'd even like it or not.
Yeah.
And I listened, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is such a cool
That's
take on it.
everyone's reaction. As I said, it's a long way from the roller skates.
Yes, indeed.
You
Yes,
know?
indeed. Well, I just think that is awesome. And then you already touched on this one, I think, with Bad Stuff, so I'll skip that question. I was going to ask you about that with Steve Morrison, Joe Lynn Turner, and Derek, but we kind of covered that. And then Nugent, you mentioned his playing, but on Spoonful, that's also Bob Daisley in the mix there.
Yeah.
And since the foundation is always bass and drums, were you two able to record together, or was that flying tracks back and forth? And
Same thing. Nobody was in the same room.
Gotcha.
Ever. Not one person was in the same room.
Gotcha.
Even the harmonica was done in my house, my studio, but well after the track was done.
Got it.
The only thing that was close to that, I did my video for my studio, and we did the harmonica in my garage the same day. That's the only closest thing you can get. Everything else was individual studios, individual videos, but it looks like it was all sounds and looks like it was all done together.
Yeah. I think we marveled
amazing.
about that the last time, about today's technology. It's unbelievable what you can do.
It is. And so pretty much all of them it was a lot of fun. I mean, I like the Down to the Bottom song. I got Richie Fordick from Guns N' Roses, and I believe he gave me a click with his arrangement. I talked the arrangement out with him first.
Okay.
And then he did it with the guitar, and then I did the drums. That was the only one that was done that way.
Gotcha.
And the rest started with just the drums.
Got it.
And the melody one started with the vocal.
And
But either way, it's weird, starting with the vocal and arranging it around the vocal,
right, I bet. Well, it kind of brings up an interesting point, with so many different players and styles and everything. Did you have to adapt your approach track by track, or did they have to adapt to your approach track to track?
They went and played with the song, for the song. So it starts with the drums. As I said, the drums started doing the same drum style and very similar to the original tracks of Howlin' Wolf and this guy Morris Jennings, who was a phenomenal blues drummer. And if you listen to it and you listen to the first Zeppelin album, there's a bunch of stuff on that album that Jimmy Page took, and Jeff Beck took it also for Beckola, And Bob Daisley used it too with Ozzy, actually, unknown to him where it came from, And so I just said, there's so many cool drum tracks and so many cool tracks that we're going to do them all. And I'm going to try and follow what the drums did, but done my way, And then, then we put Audie and the bass and the vocal on it, made a demo. It created its own thing,
Yeah.
But I never say, oh, I better play lighter here. And, I use the dynamics when you need the dynamics,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of always been how you do things, I think, with your drumming. Your drums hit hard when they need to, and they back off a little when they need to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whenever a voice comes in, you got to back off or fill in between a vocal, not on the vocal.
Right.
A lot of drummers do that. They play on the vocal.
Mm-hmm. And you got great drum sounds again on this record too. The tone is so rich.
The same drums.
I think it was yesterday.
The drums are in the same exact place in my studio. I never move them. Those drums stay
that's
there.
convenient.
And they're old bass drums, old Cactus bass drums. And,
are those Ludwig?
They are Ludwig bass drums, 24 by 15. They're bigger, longer.
Gotcha.
That's what started all the drums getting longer and bigger. What we did with Ludwig was back then. We were, Ludwig was the big company, and we, I helped develop a lot of stuff with them. We developed heavy drum stands, helped drum the design. Like one of my kits was an octopus kit that they did, was one-headed tom-toms. And they sounded okay, but I wanted two-headed, so I put double heads on all of them. And that made something different.
Right.
10, 12, 13, 16, 18, and 20. double heads, where before they were only single heads. It sounds different.
Right.
So we did a lot of crazy stuff. I always had 24 by 15 bass drums. They used to be 14. And then they said, we can make 16s easy. I said, well, do you do that? So they made 16s. They made the toms longer. That became powered toms, which other companies copied. So it all came from Ludwig and me screwing around.
Right. What made you so interested in size? Was it depth of tone? I mean, why did you want bigger?
Volume.
Volume?
Yeah, volume. I started with my big drum set. I had a little drum set and you keep hanging on. And I bought a 26 bass drum because the bass drum was small. With all the loud amps, you couldn't even hear it. Mm-hmm. So I bought the big bass drum and hit it harder and a big sound. So then when I ordered the drum kit from Ludwig, I said, well, the bass drum's loud, let's make everything bigger. So I made the big toms, I made the big 26 bass drums, 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And then I had big toms on the side, I had a 16, 18, and a 22 bass drum turns over on the side with metal rims for the big tom.
Right.
And then I had the big snare drum. And that started it with Ludwig, that started it. And then John Bonham saw that, and I got him the same exact drum set. And I said to them, I think this guy's going to be big, right? Ridiculous. They didn't know who he was. On my word, they gave it to him,
Right.
It's pretty funny.
That is funny. I've
told that story so many times, and it's been so long ago.
Right.
It's so long ago.
Well, and that's
telling Ludwig, this guy John Bonham, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to get big. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like the understatement of 7 decades,
Yeah, really, exactly. I just wish he was still here to beat on him,
Yeah, and and then you see the Led Zeppelin movie. They talk about how Vanilla Fudge took him under the wing, which we did.
Right.
And we paid half the fee of their very first gig, because they promoted him, wanted him on the show. And our agent forced him, and we paid half, and the promoter paid half. And they got booed off the stage on that first one.
Where did that start? I forgot. Was that New York?
Denver.
Oh, in Denver.
Okay. Day after Christmas, and then they just went on and they put me in the movie, and she even showed me on the Ed Sullivan Show. I said, "Wow."
Yeah, I saw that.
How cool is that?
Right.
Finally getting some due here. I've been
60
getting
years in the making or whatever.
Yeah, I've been getting due for a while now because John Bonham, they wrote a book about John Bonham with his interviews and how he talked about coming off that first tour and just being freaked out, playing with me, And I was like one of his, not his only idol, but one of them. Like he was with Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, myself, and he was talking to Cozy Powell and both of them. And Cozy's going, "What was it like?" Like 2 little kids,
Right. I bet.
Just like when we were in Vanilla Fudge, we had these 2 guys came to watch our session. They walked in, they were like 2 little kids. It was Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood. Mm-hmm. And sitting there in the corner, didn't say a word. We got porno movies running. We got sex going on in the next room. Just crazy stuff.
Typical debauchery of the day.
Yeah. And they come in and they're sitting there like, "Oh, do you mind if we watch?" "Oh, okay." And there's Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you mentioned Vanilla Fudge, and that was such a different band for the time. The way you guys took those songs and slowed them down the way that you did, It was just so different. Like I remember I was a little boy, not to make you feel old
Thanks.
or anything. I know, as I said, not to make you feel old or anything, but I already heard.
We both got gray hair, so you can't be that old.
No, I know. I know it's sad, but I had already heard, the "You Keep Me Hanging On" Diana Ross and the Supremes version, and so I knew how it went and everything, And then, of course, when I was little, we only had an AM radio, so it was whatever got played on AM Top 40 radio. That's what you heard. And I'll never forget one evening, the guy that had the 6 to 10 shift on my local station in Chicago. Your song comes on. It wasn't front announced, it was back announced, so I didn't know who this was. The song comes on, I'm listening. I was probably 6 or so years old, and I'm listening, and I'm like, "Oh, this is weird. I think I know this song. No, I must not know this song. This is what's in my head, Anyway, the song plays, and I just remember sitting there for the longest time contemplating what I had just heard. Yeah. So that's what I loved about Vanilla Fudge. It was such a unique, you guys...
Put me on hold for when the manager's calling.
All right, let me pause. I will pause. One moment, please.
I'm on the interview. I'm doing the interviews.
All right, we're back, guys. Thanks for standing by. So, Carmine, busy man still, every day of his life. So we're going to kind of wrap things up here for Carmine so he can get going. But with the new album, I'm so excited about it. You guys don't go anywhere. We're going to be playing the Dee Snider song we talked about in just a few minutes. But at this stage of your life, I'll ask you a two-part question because they kind of both tie into the album. With all you've done, and you've had such a long career, my first question is, part A, is what still excites you when you climb behind that drum kit? And then part B, what do you want fans to take away from this new Cactus album?
Well, what excites me is playing in front of people, having a good time with the audience, playing drums, kick ass. I mean, I don't go in my studio and just play by myself. That doesn't excite me anymore. I did that, when I was a kid for years and years and years and practice on the drum pad. So now it's just what I do.
Right. Right.
I like to do it not by myself,
right.
Either playing with other people or playing in front of people. So the playing with other people comes with the studio and making things like this Cactus album. That excites me. Getting different people together and playing. What was the other part B?
Okay, so what still excites you? And then part B, when people hear the new album, what would you like them to take away from it?
That it's good music, they enjoy it, they get off on it, they have a good time with it, and hopefully they'll tell their friends so their friends buys it as well.
That works.
Because the more we sell, then we get to do another one. Like the next one I thought about the other day is like, what about celebrating Blue Murder?
That would be so great.
The same thing.
That would be
so
so
people,
great.
Me and Tony Franklin, and bringing in guitar players and singers. And just doing all the Blue Murder songs and celebrating.
And I'm sure there's a million guys that would like to pay respect to John Sykes, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I told that to the label. I said, that's a good idea. Let's research that.
Yeah, I think that.
And you know who loves Blue Murder the most is, I just went blank. Come on.
I know a lot of guys that like.
I know you, but the big
Mitch
guy.
Perry,
VH1.
Oh, VH1.
VH1 Metal Show.
Oh, Eddie Trunk.
Eddie Trunk.
Eddie Trunk. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sleeping good here. We're in New York, moving out, and it's just been a nightmare here. My mind is gone. But Eddie Trunk loved Blue Murder, so I'm going to call him and ask him what he thinks. If we do it, if he would back it.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think that would be so exciting because I'm so sad about John Sykes, and I think it would be fantastic. And those records, to me, I mean, Jelly Roll in the very beginning, did pretty well, but it I feel like as time's going on, that band kind of gets forgotten sometimes.
It did get forgotten. They never did what it was supposed to do.
Exactly.
Only in Japan.
In Japan, yeah.
In Japan,
so
we did
I would
Tokyo,
love
12,000 people and 7,000 people in Osaka,
Right.
And then it kind of went sour when the grunge came in, and that album didn't do what it was supposed to. And John kind of got introverted for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad. I would have bet you my house that it was going to be gold, and I would have lost my house.
Oh yeah, I would have agreed with you though. I'd have been on your side of that bet. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, it was
whatever it is, but I think now would be a good time to do that, in which I'm becoming an expert at doing this stuff.
Right, exactly. I absolutely love the idea. I'm expecting to see it happen.
I've been telling people that, and everybody's liking it. So we'll see.
Good.
All right. Well, cool. I got to go. Nice
I know you got to go. So, Carmine, always an honor talking with you. It's been a blast having you again. And you guys, make sure you check out Cactus, Temple of the Blues 2. It's a heavy blues rock record. The way, and Carmine will tell you straight blues. I'm still going a little bit blues rock, but it's the way it's meant to be. It's loud, raw, it's unapologetic. So check it out. It comes out April 3rd. You guys in Chicago, again, go check this out at the Arcada. It's going to kill. And stick around right now And listen to Dee Snider and Tracy Guns. We didn't mention playing guitar on this track as well.
That's right. And
check out Little Red
Jimmy
Rooster.
Haslip on bass.
Exactly.
Fantastic players.
Fantastic. So turn this up a little bit louder right now, guys. Here's Little Red Rooster. Carmine, thank you so much.
Okay.
For days, I have a little red rooster, 2 days in a crow for days. Keep everything in the barnyard upset in every way. Yes, it does. Oh, the dogs begin to bark, hounds begin to howl.